Welcome, everyone. Tonight, I've got a collection of some of the creepiest stories I could find from Reddit. So turn down the lights, get comfortable, and let's see if you can make it through all of them without getting chills. And if you enjoy scary stories like these, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around for more creepy Reddit tailies. Now, let's get into the first story. This story was originally posted on Reddit by you, brilliant_peanut_842, in the subreddit r short scary stories. I live alone, except for my cat, Luna. Not unusual for a cat, right? But one night, she was looking at the corner of my room, completely frozen. Her ears were flat. I followed her gaze. There was nothing there, so I laughed it off and went back to sleep. The next night, she did it again. Same corner, same terrified stare. This went on for a week. Then one night, curiosity got the better of me. I pointed my phone camera at the corner and took a picture. At first, it looked normal. Tall, pale. I spun around. The corner was empty. The figure was gone. A few seconds later, Luna slowly turned her head away from the corner and looked directly behind me.
This story was originally posted on Reddit by you, the_anomalous_bakery, in the subreddit r short scary stories. A few years ago, I woke up at around 3 in the morning during a huge storm. Rain was pounding against my windows, and the wind was so loud it sounded like something was trying to get inside. Then I heard scratching. At first I thought it was just a tree branch, but it kept happening. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It was coming directly from my bedroom window. I sat up and looked over. Outside, sitting on the narrow ledge in the pouring rain, was a cat. Its eyes reflected the light from my room, and it was just staring at me. Then it let out a quiet little meow. I immediately thought it was my cat. I figured he must have somehow gotten outside. So I got out of bed and walked over to the window to let him back in. As soon as I reached for the lock, the scratching stopped. Completely. The room went silent. Then I heard something behind me. A deep purring sound. Slow. Heavy. I turned around. And there was my cat, curled up on my bed, fast asleep. I remember my stomach instantly dropping, because if my cat was right there, then what was sitting outside my window? I slowly looked back. The thing outside wasn't a cat anymore. It was standing up, getting taller and taller. Its body stretched into something almost human. Then 2 pale hands pressed against the glass, and a huge grin spread across its face. Way too wide to be human. It leaned forward until its face was right against the window. Then, in a deep voice, it whispered one word. Meow. That's when the window lock started shaking. I bought an abandoned house for almost nothing. The previous owner had left in a hurry, and the place had been empty for years. On my first night there, I heard footsteps upstairs. Around 2 a.m., I figured it was the old ward settler. The next night, the footsteps came again, slow, heavy, come back and forth across the hallway. I grabbed a flashlight and checked every room. Nothing. On the 3rd night, I decided to record the hallway with my phone while I slept. The next morning, I watched the footage at 2:07 a.m. The hallway door slowly opened by itself. Then the pale face peeked around the corner. It wasn't there for long, just 1 second, but it was enough. The worst part, I was alone in the house, and the face looked exactly like me. I moved into a 100-year-old house last fall. The place always felt strange, but nothing major happened until I adopted a black cat named Oliver. Every night, around 2 a.m., he'd sit at the bottom of the staircase and stare up into the darkness. One night I heard him growling. Not hissing, growling. I looked up the stairs and saw nothing. The next morning, I reviewed footage from my security camera. At 2:04 a.m., Oliver was staring at the top of the stairs. Then he suddenly backed away. A second later, a dark figure crossed the hallway. The camera didn't catch a face, just a shadow. I told myself it was a trick of the light. Then I noticed something else. Dot comma. The shadow stopped halfway down the hall and turned toward the camera. At the exact same moment, Oliver ran and hid under my bed. We've lived here for 3 years now. Every night at 2 a.m., he still watches the stairs, and I still refuse to look.
When I bought my house, the previous owner left one warning. Don't lock the attic door. I laughed and ignored it. A few weeks later, I adopted a stray orange cat named Pumpkin. The first night, he sat outside the attic door and meowed nonstop. The second night, he scratched at the door for hours. On the third night, I finally opened it. The attic was empty. No furniture. No boxers. Nothing. Pumpkin walked inside, stared into the far corner, and puffed up his tail. Then he ran out. That night, I woke up to the sound of someone walking around upstairs. Slow footsteps. Back and forth. I grabbed my phone and checked the attic camera I'd installed earlier that day. The room was empty. But the footsteps continued. Then, right before they stopped, something appeared on the camera. A pair of glowing eyes, low to the ground, watching from the corner. The strange part, Pumpkin was asleep beside me the entire time.